Sound design is a pretty cool thing in pretty much any media you consume, but I feel like sound design in games has an extra layer to it because you interact with the game. And that extra layer is kind of what I want to look at right now. A lot of people forget that menus have sound. And so today, what I want to be trying to do is to design a sound for menu selection, item selection. I'm going to go, I think, in the direction of Overwatch, just because that's the direction I'd like to be headed. Overwatch has this really cool techie sound. Doom Eternal has a similarly techie sound. Resident Evil, because you're supposed to be saving your game and interacting with it through a typewriter, a lot of its menu selection sounds are very mechanical. Halo is kind of techie, a little less abrupt though. Axiom Verge is a very old kind of sound. Today, I intend to design a kind of Overwatch-y one, because that's sort of just the direction I wish to be headed. Let's get started. Today I'm going to be using Reaper instead of Pro Tools, which you've seen in previous videos of mine, largely because in looking for sound design jobs, I've found that Reaper is actually, that being able to use Reaper is a skill that's in demand. I've got Overwatch open, or a video of me harvesting sounds from Overwatch for example sake, that I'm going to reference every now and then. A lot of sound design involves just exploring sounds. So I've got this old realistic stereo microphone. I'm probably going to experiment with this for capturing whatever sound I end up using. Now, that to me sounds... well, that sounds like a bird chirping. I'm going to start with just recording me kind of playing with a piece of paper and see where I can go from there. So I didn't realize until editing that you guys couldn't actually hear the sounds just because of how the signal routing was, and also that the levels were relatively low until the end of the sends and chains. So here's just like a quick tour instead. I ended up using these samples of paper, me just like fiddling with paper. That's the raw audio boosted. This, I end up liking that segment. I turned that into a sample using, what plugin? Resample-O-Matic 5000. So like, I have my MIDI notes. That's what the sample sounds like across the board. I noticed that the sound in Overwatch, it wasn't just a static chirp, it was melodic. And so I wanted to intentionally do some pitching with it. Not pitching, but go across different pitches. And I ended up with that, a very simple staccato thing. I really liked that, but it needed a little bit of shaping and just a little bit of extra flair. So what I did was I added some effects, sends. After doing that, I figured, why not make a cancel sound? And so that's how I ended up with this one, which took some extra shaping just because I hadn't thought ahead about it. And if you look at my EQ shapes, they're pretty extreme, so it needed its own send for processing. But I thought those turned out really well, and I really like how the cancel sound, not only is it only 3 notes compared to the 4, so it's slightly more succinct, but also the confirm sound is very chipper with how it goes up, but my cancel sound only goes down. It almost sounds sad, which I think is great for conveyance in a user interface. And so from here, it's easier if I just actually show you within context of Overwatch what it would sound like. So here's the sounds superimposed into Overwatch. So yeah, that turned out pretty cool, I think. I really like those sounds. They're different from what Overwatch currently uses, but Overwatch 2 probably isn't going to use the same sounds anyway. And the objective wasn't to clone the sound, it was to make a new one inspired by what was there. So, yeah, stay tuned for more sounds.